There's a growing sense right now that Seattle may be at a bit of a crossroads. We've been telling you about this bombshell audit raising serious questions about how homelessness dollars are being tracked in King County. And there are ongoing concerns from the business community about whether Seattle is still competitive. And there's always this debate over what public safety should look like in downtown Seattle. And then on top of all of that, voters are being asked to approve a larger library levy at a time when we're being told on the text line a lot of people are already feeling stretched. So where is the city of Seattle headed? And how do leaders of the city measure whether things are actually getting better? Well, joining us right now, live in studio, is Seattle City Council President Joy Hollingsworth. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me. I'm here. I'm excited. It's a beautiful Thursday. We got that liquid sunshine. All right.
Something those of us who've lived here a long time have really gotten accustomed to.
Yes.
Okay, well, I want to get right to, obviously we have this report that came out, and it came out late last night, and the reaction has been fast and furious. And for those who are just joining us right now, this forensic audit of the King County Regional Homelessness Authority, which Seattle pays the most when it comes to dollars going to that agency, they found that there are about $8 million in unreconciled funds. Total discrepancies could be up to $13 million that cannot be clearly accounted for. Some leaders, including one of your council colleagues, is calling for this just to be done away with. Where do you stand on this?
Yeah, thank you for that question. And I just want to say I had scheduled this before the audit came out. Okay, so I had to bring some notes. And I still came. Of course,
Thank you.
Of course. Look, so Seattle puts in between 50 to 60% of the overall budget for King County Regional Homeless Authority. Since their inception, we've put over $500 million. So $500 million has gone into this organization from the city. And so they have not gotten the outcomes that we have wanted. We know there are a lot of growth edges on that. The second thing that is very concerning are the accounts that cannot, be accounted for between $8 and $13 million. That is a concern. So it's something like if you had put this audit in front of me and didn't say who it was, and said, hey, should we still be doing 50 to 60% investment in this? I'd say no, right? Like, absolutely not. I think I would like us to reinvest that money into our own human services department. We can have more oversight. We can have better accountability, better transparency, and better outcomes. So I would like Seattle to start moving in that direction.
Okay, so I want you to flat out say, is it time to just dismantle this particular organization and bring it in-house, which apparently is happening anyway, since the mayor's plan has nothing to do with the Regional Homelessness Authority.
Yeah, it's time for us to figure out what that path looks like. Yes, okay? You can't just cut off the lights, because then you have folks that might lose services. There are, providers that are doing that. But I do believe it's time for us to see a different pathway, and that is bringing it in-house in Seattle.
Joy.
Yes.
Every other week, we talking about misappropriation of funds, missing funds. The word fraud gets used. Audits get used. And then when the audits happen, it never comes up to like, you know what? The money is accounted for every single time. It is coming this way. So I've asked this to others, so I want to ask you. When you and your colleagues are together talking about things, my question is it the people or is it the system? Why does this keep happening? Because there's a lot of people that are listening right now that are like, y'all keep doing this.
Yeah.
Not you personally.
I get it.
Just in totality. Is it the people or is it the system?
Well, I'm part of the system too, right? Because I'm the one voting for people's dollars. And so it is all of us that are within government, that are in the county, the state. It's the whole entire system, how we have thought about this part where we're always talking about we're a wealthy city, we have progressive taxes, but we never talk about, well, what are the outcomes are for certain things? What are the things that we're getting to? It's we need more money, and that's a problem that I have. And so I think it's a system failure on the outcome piece. It's a system failure on understanding that, ideology a little bit. We have great ideas, but we don't have really good structure on implementation as well. Mm-hmm. I do believe that we have to pull those contracts, obviously, like I said, back into in-house.
But I just want to push back respectfully.
You can
okay,
push back.
here's a pushback.
Yeah.
You said that all of us are part of the system, and you're right. It's because some of us, we vote or certain types of ways.
Yeah.
But the voters and a lot of people, the majority of people that are part of this system that you're talking about, they don't have any control. And so there are people that get paid to be in control. And when these people don't do the right things with some of these systems that are in place, it feels like most of us don't have any type of accountability. And all we have to talk about is when is Ursula or anybody in the news going to bring it up again and again and again. Yeah. So when will the buck finally just stop and say enough's enough?
Let me clarify that. When I said we, I'm talking about government officials. So I don't see myself, because I know that, so I just want to clarify, I do not expect you as a voter to be doing audits at King County Regional Homeless Authority.
Right.
When I say we, I'm talking about elected officials, I'm talking about City of Seattle, those folks that actually have voting metrics in this system, okay?
Okay.
That's what I'm talking about. But where does the buck stop? It stops now. We are always talking about audits. We get that information. Now you have to have the political will to say, you know what, I can't continue to go on and vote this way. And honestly, I can't, right? There's too many people suffering. There are too many different things that we've seen on the street. We have to have better outcomes. That's what the voters are wanting. That's what people want. We got to have better outcomes.
And Joy, I want to just say that our text line blew up in the last hour when we talked about it, and a lot of people were bringing up the homelessness, industrial complex, and this just feeds into that idea of you just keep pouring money in. The problem does not get solved, and it's a moneymaker for a lot of people, but it's not benefiting those who are the most vulnerable. So I want to go back to, you said we want to bring it in-house.
Yeah.
So just to spell it out, I understand that there are programs and contracts and providers that need to be dealt with in dismantling it, but you don't see a future for King County Regional Homelessness Authority as it stands right now.
Not after this audit, not with what I've seen on the outcomes, not when I've seen, providers not get paid within 12 months and running at a negative deficit, $13 million unaccounted for. No, I don't.
And bringing it in-house, I know that I believe it was Councilmember Maritza Rivera who said, after seeing what happened with King County Human Services and their department and the revelation that an audit there also found huge problems with tracking money, humongous amounts of money, taxpayer dollars. And I think she, and I don't know if there are others who are also calling for City of Seattle audits to do the same. Would you support that?
So I support any time that we can have audits that offer that offers people to understand where the money is going, right? But I also want to clarify that City of Seattle, our system is different, where people have to submit invoices before they get paid. So that's very different than what maybe the county or state might do as an advance to folks. Mm-hmm. You have to submit an invoice. But yeah, I would welcome any type of thing that would give people comfort knowing that their tax dollars are being spent properly.
You guys are listening to the voice of Seattle City's Council's president, Joy Hollingsworth, here on the Gee and Ursula Show. I want to go back to what I believe was one of your first big tests. We all got to hear it. Some got to see it. And that was when the ICE protest in the chambers that forced you to call a recess, if you will. You kept order. You kept the session moving and everything. But this is a little time to tell the people, tell us, what did that teach you about leading under pressure? Because I'm sure as you've been in this role, you've learned a lot of things, but I want to know what that moment taught you about leading under pressure. That's a great question. You know what it brought me back to? We were down by 1. We were playing TCU in this tournament, basketball, so played Division I basketball, and I had to hit 2 free throws with like 4 seconds left, and practicing for that pressure every day. And you transition, they're eerily similar where at the role that I'm in now, which is being calm, being focused, being kind, and making sure that, you're keeping the peace. So there's no different from what I practice as an athlete and transitioning over into now. And what that taught me about my moment is that
if you're calm, cool, and collective, and you are kind to people, and you set boundaries, and you make sure that you're consistent with that, you're going to get great outcomes. You know, people are still going to protest. People are still going to come to City Hall, but we're going to treat each other with respect. Number one, we're going to be kind to each other. We're not going to yell and shout. We're not going to do any of that. We're going to make sure that we can have conversations. I'm all about conversations over divisiveness.
But once a week they come in there and when do y'all listen? Tuesdays?
Tuesday at 2:00.
Tuesdays at 2:00.
Yeah.
It's free reign. They can come in and say any and everything that they want. Now you're smiling now.
Yeah.
Keep going with that. How do you keep? Because is this something? Do you believe that a lot of public officials need to be having that type of connection with the community, where they actually have to hear comments?
Absolutely. I think we, at any point in time, I'm accessible online, email. People see me in the streets, at the bus, I'm riding my bike. We have conversations, and they come to City Council and they talk. I believe that people should have that opportunity. It's public comment. What I do know is oftentimes their aggression, not aggression, but maybe like, you know, their frustration, because aggressive is
Loaded.
Thank you. So loaded. That frustration against us sometimes is not against us. It's what's going on at the federal level. It's what might be going on in the world. You never know what someone's going through. Someone had just gotten evicted from their apartment and came down and poured their heart out, and they were frustrated. You just never know. And so I always start with, I will come at peace and respect that, and we'll hopefully get that back.
Well, one of the biggest frustrations that we hear often is that city leaders say that progress is being made, but if, let's say, you go downtown and you're like, well, wait a minute, how come I don't feel some of these things that we're saying are happening? Or you're seeing encampments still around the city, or you're seeing open-air drug use, or businesses closing, and there's every headline about this business is leaving in Seattle, they're going to Bellevue. What are maybe 2 or 3 metrics that you use that determine that, hey, what's happening right now and where Seattle is going, it is the right direction?
Yeah, there are a number of things. Number one, that could just be the feeling from comments that I get from folks. Those are small business owners. Those are people in the community. Those are neighborhood groups that I'm interacting with every day. You kind of take a temperature check. It's not necessarily a number. It's more of, you know, the qualitative, not the quantitative, the qualitative interaction, what's going on. The second piece, I'm always looking at gun violence and how is it affecting our city. If you are in Southeast Seattle, you're 13% of the population, but you're 30% of the gun violence. So when those numbers move down in that area, then that's a metric that I'm seeing, like, hey, are we curbing that gun violence that's going on in our city? And the third piece, I'm also looking at rents. Are they going down? Are they going up? That affordability piece, how much groceries are at the store. Like, these are the livability of Seattle. Those are the things that I'm always looking at, the violence, the gun violence that we're having, potentially the livability of folks, and then what I'm hearing in the community from small businesses and neighborhoods, not the political piece. Okay, the people that are literally the day-to-day folks that are the voters, the constituents every day.
I want to follow up with, we had the city attorney of Seattle on the show on Friday, and we were talking about her office. Part of her campaign was prioritizing diversion first when it comes to open-air drug use. She also does not support soda and soap zones. Now, that was something that the city council, the previous council, had voted in.
Yeah.
And so I want to know, like, where are you? Because, you know, that is controversial.
Yeah, absolutely. Look, I voted for soap and soda, which was intended to be a deterrent based on a lot of the hotspots in our city.
Yes, limiting drug activity and prostitution.
So the 3 areas that we have those most right now, which is 1% of the landmass and accounts for 30% of the activity that are in our streets, it's Aurora, it is downtown on 3rd Pike and Pine, and it's 12th and Jackson. So we added Capitol Hill to that location after I talked to folks, and they were like, hey, this has gotten out of control. We have, situations going on in our neighborhood. So it was, hearing from folks and saying, hey, this might be an area we want to look at. No one wanted to vote on SOAP, which is the area for prostitution, and say, we want to arrest the people that are being sex trafficked. No. We were voting on to deter the gun violence, the bullet holes going through people's windows, the kids that are going to school being accosted by grown adults asking if they can solicit sex to a middle school. the crazy stories, the data, the information, the principles we talk to. These are the facts that we had before us when we were voting on this. And so when people might say, well, you voted on this because you don't like black and brown people, you don't like this. No. I love everyone. And I want to make sure that a kid going to school up north while they're walking through Aurora is not being accosted by soliciting by a grown adult. That's where we're at. The bullet holes through the windows, the women who are begging to get out of that life. And there's two different strategies. There's all different strategies that we want to do. So that was one of the strategies that I supported.
District 3 is your district, right?
Yes.
And that is Central District, Capitol Hill, Madrona, Leschi, all that. And so I have a question for you. But we got to go to break, and so will you stick around for the next segment?
Of course, I'm here.
All right.
This is the Gee and Ursula Show, and we are continuing our conversation with Seattle City Council President Joy Hollingsworth. And as promised, we want to talk about the business climate in downtown Seattle, particularly. The Downtown Seattle Association CEO, John Scholes, was on our show recently, and he told us the city's overall business climate makes it hard to attract and retain companies. I want you to listen to this.
I mean, it seems like every other day you pick up a news story and there's a new tax or a tax that was recently raised that they want to make higher, or a new regulation. And so there's not great predictability. There hasn't been over the last decade for doing business in downtown Seattle. And the dollars and cents matter too. It is much more expensive to locate a job in downtown Seattle than it is in downtown Bellevue. We have a significant payroll tax that was put in place 4 years ago and increased. We have increases in the B&O tax on large employers in our city. So we become a tax outlier in our region, and people are making other choices.
So first of all, do you agree with that assessment? And then what is the council's plan, or what are some of your specific ideas to make this a more business-friendly climate?
Yeah, I think, well, first, do I agree with that? Some of it, right? I agree with some of John Scholes' assessment of Seattle. I think we can do better for a business climate, for sure. If we just break up and look at the head tax that was passed in 2021, there are 500 companies that pay that tax. And I have notes on it because I was wanting to make sure I was right with my numbers. The top 100 pay 90% of that revenue. The top 10 pay 70% of that revenue. So the top 10 companies for our Jumpstart tax pay 70% of that revenue coming into our city. And so I know a lot of people, can figure out which businesses those are. And so I do believe the city of Seattle needs to do a better job of business climate. And what does that mean? It just means, and you are engaging with them when they're asking questions. You are making sure that we're keeping the city safe. Like the very simple things, safe. You're making it attractive for them to attract different employees, making it safe for their employees to live. Obviously, people talk about those tax dollars. I do believe that companies that are paying into tax dollars wouldn't mind maybe increasing those, whatever have you, but as long as those outcomes made it so they can do business better in Seattle. And I think that's what they're talking about. Hey, we're raising our taxes, but we're not seeing that on the street. We're not seeing that in officers. We're not seeing that in response times. And I think that is the bigger issue here.
Well, the things that I hear are they're saying specifically it is the taxes. It is that specifically for the city of Seattle that makes it more attractive to go to Bellevue. Or, in the case of Starbucks, which I know was much earlier a decision, to move part of it to Nashville. Are there any either tax incentives or tax breaks that you would consider?
I would be open to figuring out, as long as it didn't hurt other streams that we're relying on for human services and housing and other things that are important. But I think I want to go back to, how do you create more revenue for a city? Do you tax more, or do you make business environment healthy, small businesses, big businesses, where people are spending money? They're coming out. They're generating this revenue to where the city, we're building housing, right? These are things where money comes into the city because we have a healthy business climate. You can look at Bellevue downtown. Go to Bellevue downtown and just walk around. And you're like, oh, this is nice. This is clean. This is safe. Like, Seattle, we have a part in that. You can't look about, what is Bellevue doing? Seattle had a little bit of part in what Bellevue looks like right now.
I asked you a question before the break, and I promised that I would come and ask this question right now again. And the question back to you is that you represent District 3. That's with Capitol Hill, Central District, Madrona, Leschi. And right now, if you were to send a survey out to your constituents right now about what they want in your district, what is something that maybe you'd be surprised about that you'd hear from your constituents?
So we did a survey last year and had results back getting from what people wanted, what were some of their top issues. Mm-hmm. And the one thing that didn't surprise me, but it had been what we had been talking about for a long time, were just the basics. People had said, Joy, I just want a clean city. I want a clean park. I want a restroom at the bathroom that works. So when my kid's playing softball, I can use the restroom. I want my bus to run on time, so I'm not paying the extra fee to pick up my kid because my bus is late and they got to stay after school or whatever it is. A lot of people have asked us, can you just do that? And I think it's important for people to understand if we can do that as a city, just those basic things, then the hard, complex problem, what we're dealing with at the King County Regional Homeless Authority, the business tax, these things, then people are like, oh, they can handle that because I've seen their performance on these levels that are the things that people touch every day: parks, water, sewer, garbage, streets, transportation, police, fire, EMT. Those are things that people judge a city how well things are working.
Right now, the World Cup is coming in June. I don't know if you heard. But the World Cup's coming. Obviously, right now there's a budget deficit. Right, that's ahead. You guys have the new mayor. We all have the new mayor here in Seattle, who's kind of finding their footing right now. The people listening right now, if you had to tell the people, especially in Seattle, one thing about this Seattle Council, this current one right here, what would it be? Something that you guys are doing that would make the people be like, oh, okay, where you can get their trust. Because right now, every time you guys talk or anything like that, there's a like, oh, I don't know. There's a yeah, but. But there's a lot of stuff that's happening right now coming into June. What is something that you guys are doing that you want to talk about?
Yeah, there's a lot. So you talked about World Cup. The one thing that I would say about World Cup, because there's a lot of preparation, transportation, safety, how we're moving the economy from downtown into small businesses around the city of Seattle. The one thing I want people to hold us accountable is as we're prepping for this, let's continue that same energy and keeping the city that way. If we're cleaning up things, if we're making it safe, accessible, let's maintain that same level. That's the one thing that I want people to hold us accountable on Seattle City Council, because that's things that we can make sure our departments are being pushed on, that our community is involved in as well, is saying, hey, are we keeping that same energy for cleanliness and that same energy for public safety, for those things to where people can visually see that we are doing things? Because you have to show people visually what you're doing for the city. And I think that's going to be key to have that same energy.
Going to get one quick question in from Paul in the 253 who says, Seattle wants people living outside of the city to visit, yet parking and getting into the city is such a hassle. It's no longer worth it. I used to come in for concerts and sporting events a couple times a month, and now I only do it, if anything, 2 to 3 times a year. Is that something that would be worrisome to you? Like people in this region don't feel like they can come in to Seattle?
Yeah, is it a transportation?
Parking?
Is it the parking piece?
Yes.
Yeah, so we've made a significant investment in our transit. We have our G line. Y'all are experiencing the J line construction out here. God bless y'all. And then you also have, I look at G. G's not, if you're listening on the radio, he just looked at me with a dead stare.
Yes,
I just want
it's
y'all
right
to
on
know
East
that.
Lake.
I got him to smile a little bit, but he knows. We also have the 2 line for Sound Transit. There are different ways in which we've invested in coming into the city. Cars are a part of that too as well. And so when I hear people say, Joy, it's hard to drive, it's hard to get in here, I want to make it so it's easier for you to get out of your car and be able to take the bus or transit. That's an option. Or we have to figure out, too, as well, can we have free parking downtown?
Thank you.
You know, like that. Yeah,
yeah,
you heard me say free.
Some parking holidays.
The listeners, I'm not saying UBI, I'm saying free parking.
That's why they go into Bellevue.
Yeah,
yes.
Okay. Free parking.
I like how you brought up that UBI. That was good.
Thank you.
That was good. I caught it.
You caught that, but I'm saying free parking. Maybe it's free parking. Maybe we're jump starting something where we want people to come in and generate that
so
revenue for our city.
What y'all got to do for the free parking?
What do we have to do? That might be something y'all can judge me on. Maybe we make a pitch in city council. I don't know. I can talk to the transportation chair. We'll see.
Jeez. Joy Hollingsworth, thank you so much.
Oh, that was fun. Thank you.
Well, when we have so many other questions, so we're gonna have to you come back again.
I would love
because
to.
there's many more questions. And then I was going to say just real quick because Kevin in Seattle is a daily texter. He is someone who is so proud to live in Seattle, and he's concerned that the metric, and I don't think that you are only basing your metrics on, hey, what are you hearing from people that you survey?
Oh, yeah, no.
Because he's saying, I'm seeing more tents now. And this is a guy who...
Absolutely. Yeah, and you all are playing my favorite Stevie Wonder song. Okay, how many tents are going up? What are response times from officers? What are housing costs? What are our fire department? How many times they're answering their calls to different places? That's what our metrics are as well. So those are in addition to what I'm hearing.
I appreciate it. Appreciate you coming in. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Every day on our show, we choose joy, right?
I'm glad.
And we told Sophia we choose joy. Just like, oh, well, I thought.
Thank you for choosing joy.
Appreciate it.
Oh, no.
Hey, coming up next.